discipline, tolerance, and production to build a strong and better nation. I say that is the main foundation. So come let us work hand in hand, because this is our land. Come my brother, come my sister, and let us build a nation together. Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. Remember, the key to success is working hard. For our country, we must have regard. Forget all your differences, let we start to build. And onward to progress we surely will. Because now, more than ever, we must show discipline, tolerance, and production to build a strong and better nation. I say that is the main foundation. So come let us work hand in hand, because this is our land. Come my brother,
come my sister, and let us work hand in hand, because this is our land. Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique belong to all of us. And we must work very hard to make sure that it's improved. All right, Zuzo, you're looking beautiful, right? Nice. You want me to see. All right, so Zoe wants me to see that she's looking special this morning. All right. Come, you want to say hi? Come, Paso. Come this way. And come and say hi. All right. Come and say hi. Come.
Sister, and let us build a nation together. So much of things that we need to see about. Surely I do have to spell them out. Cause you know as well as I do, the only way is putting more effort and less play. Because now, more than ever, we must show discipline, tolerance, and production to build a strong and better nation. I say that is the main foundation. So,
right, so, Zoe wanted to say hi and bye. She's off to the daycare. All right, nice. So I was saying to you, Grenada belongs to all of us, and we must try our best to make it better, to improve it for our children and children. And they would do the rest. They would work to improving it for their children and children. But we have a duty to them. I want to say to you that this morning, I think around 9, there will be a very important Parliament sitting, right? The sitting of Parliament, the official start of another session, all right? Another session. So again, it is important that you follow what's going down. It's really a ceremonial opening, right? A ceremonial state opening of the second session of the 11th Parliament of Grenada. So it's ceremonial. The Governor General will do the throne speech outlining what we can expect for the next period, right? For the upcoming session, the bills that will go through Parliament, the focus areas. So it's always good to listen in because remember, the Governor General will tell you what her government will do. My government will focus on this, focus on that, and you know she's really serving at the behest of the Prime Minister, and that's what it is, right? That's what it is. She acts in accordance with that. That's just how it's designed, all right? So it's ceremonial. I want to say to you also, tomorrow, God's willing, our beloved Prime Minister will have a press conference or will be a part of a very important press conference with the Permanent Secretary in the Department of Public Administration, I think, DPA, uh, and somebody from the Public Service Commission. And that press conference is to speak to the regularization of workers because you know the NNP left a broken public service and a lot of the workers there were actually or are actually, right? A lot of workers in the public service, they're actually on contract or they're acting. So you have nurses who are on contract or acting. You have teachers who are on contract or acting. You have other public servants who are on contract. And they have been like that for a lot of years. A lot of years. Because the NNP introduced contract labor within the public service. And the reason for that is to control the public service and to kill the union, to make sure that the union doesn't have a stronghold on the public service. So the unions should be happy that this government is regularizing the workers and giving them a tenure, well, security of tenure, where they can go to the bank and they can present their letter and they can get a loan and they can start, making headways, as we would say, making progress. Because those who are on contract, they can't go to the bank and get a loan like this. But if they're permanent, if they're regularized and they fall under a scale or so, then they can actually get a loan and they can pick up themselves and they will be guaranteed a pension after a period of time. But of course, this whole regularization should factor in pension reform because as it is now, as it stands now, the government, NIS, all of them cannot sustain the way the whole pension scheme is constructed. So those who are on contract and coming in, more or less, coming into the system, those new ones, I think there should be a new pension arrangement for them, right? There should be. So yes, they're guaranteed their money from NIS after 65. And well, from 60, you can take less pension until you reach 65 to get a max. And from government itself, they will be entitled to 66.66% of the highest emolument, but that needs to change. It either should be a contributory pension where government put some and you put some to make sure that you get something when you retire, or should be a situation where uh, it is done in such a way that the person who comes into the system now, they will get a certain amount instead of the almost 70%. So it has to be, I mean, they should construct it, uh, develop it, create it, do it in such a way that everybody will be happy, right? So pension reform is key, but it should not affect those who are in the system and been there for a period of time. So again, it should not just be a regularize you, a make you permanent, and then you fall under the same pension arrangement as the people who are now getting 66.66% on the last highest emolument every month until they retire, and their gratuity. So the package has to be different if it has to be sustainable. If it has to be sustainable. So again, something needs to be worked out, but I'm happy that the government is regularizing workers, and I think they would prioritize uh, nurses, those in the health sector, and the teachers first. I think that is what they intend to do. And then they would go into the other areas within the public service. But not everyone who is working in the public service on contract will be regularized. Don't believe so. Not because you hear regularization, it means everybody, even if you're performing or not, you become permanent. No, 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 no. Nope. You have to be appraised. You must be a performer. You must be someone who producing, getting results. So you can't tell me when I look at your file, you're always late to work. You always not fulfilling your assignments as given. You always have problems with workers and so on in the workplace. And, it's only red pen alone that's on your or in your folder, right? Red ink. Don't tell me that you expect to become regularized and permanent. No. Nope. It has to be about the results based, getting productivity, getting results from that employer, and from that employee. So I just hope that, you understand that. But it augurs well for the workers of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique because the NNP never wanted to regularize workers. They never wanted to make them permanent, to give them security of tenure. And that is why I say to some people who are very defensive of NNP or who is out there still promoting and pushing NNP because, when NNP was in power, they were faring well. And that's the very few. There's a little clique of Grenadians who were faring well under the NNP. But the majority of people were left behind because here you have hundreds of workers who are on contract and who are not permanent. And now the NDC has to come and regularize them and make them permanent and give them security of tenure so that they can get their life started in a real way. They can go to the bank, they can go to the credit union, and that kind of stuff. So the NDC always has to be the party and government to get the thing right and to set the thing right. The NNP don't care about you. You can remain there in poverty for thy kingdom come. The NNP don't care about you. And you need to know that. So I'm really happy that they will have that press conference tomorrow, God's willing, and it will be focused on regularization of workers. And I look forward to hearing our most honorable, right, or the most honorable Deacon Mitchell, our beloved Prime Minister, and the other speakers, the permanent secretary in DPA, the rep or director, whoever from the Public Service Commission. I want to say also, be careful with certain people who will call the radio, right? And bash you today, and then they call with a request, and you run and you help, and then they call back and say, well, you're good, you're good, you're good. Be very careful. There's a certain woman who hates the most honorable Deacon Mitchell. She hates him with a passion. What he did to her, nothing, zero. But she hates this young man, right? She, when they were attacking Andy Williams, the Honorable Andy Williams, when they were attacking him with the GDB loan and so on, and mind you, a loan that was approved under the NNP administration, right? And then the recent loan that they were attacking him on was something that was already in the pipeline before he entered the fray of politics or the hall of politics. But they attack him. And when Grenadians get to know what's going down and they start giving them blows, they stop. So they stop talk about that. This same woman attacked Andy Williams over and over and over again on that same morning program, right? She attacked him. She and some other NNP uh, activists, stooges, pundits, surrogates, man, they go at him morning after morning. Now, the same individual called a particular morning program with reference to a person in need. And Andy Williams, as per usual, being that genuine person, decided to step in and help that person. Man, the Honorable Andy Williams, for this particular woman who said all manner of nasty things about him, is the best thing after sliced bread. But when she speaks, she's throwing talk for the most honorable Deacon Mitchell because she is a two-tongued Bobby. She cuts like a sword, two ends, two edges, two sides. So she will speak trying to praise Andy now because she was bashing him before. She attacked him before. But while she's trying to praise him now because he came to her rescue or some individual rescue, and she wants to be important, she wants to be talked about. She feels good if you know that individual. She feels good when somebody calls her and says, well, you're brave. Talk about that for me, and I'm in need, and so on. So she will pretend, that she praising Andy, but she trying to throw shades at our beloved Prime Minister. That is how dangerous this individual is. So we have to be very careful. Be very, very careful with people like that. She doesn't want NDC to be in power, right? She don't like the fact that this young man, this brilliant lawyer, was able to pull a team together and win the election handsomely. So there's this hatred coming from her. She's very divisive, but she's also very dangerous, right? Very, very dangerous. So in one vein, she attacked Andy Williams with the GDB falsehood that the NNP put out there. She attack him morning after morning. But now she pretending that she praising him and she thanking him because he came to the aid of some friend or somebody who reached out to her. But while she does that, she's attacking our beloved prime minister. That's how she operates. Dangerous woman. Very, very dangerous. But I'm saying this to you to warn you. Be careful with these people. Right? Very, very, very careful. I want to say also, you have people in this country. They don't care what the government does, whether it's good and whether they are benefiting, because you have a particular individual. He will attack the government morning, midday, every time. And his son benefited from the free tuition policy of the government. So he doesn't have to get the $810 to send his son to TAMCC because the government is paying for his son to go to TAMCC where the tuition is concerned. But he could care less because he's about party before country. So every day they will attack the government over and over and over. And you ask yourself, okay, what has the government done wrong with the settlement at the Kimpton by Kiwana Bay Resort? This particular hotel project where Flamboyant now sits. Sorry, where Flamboyant used to be, right? Flamboyant Hotel, that location, that place there. Remember, it's a different hotel there now. The construction stopped because the NNP fell out. The NNP administration fell out with the developer because they didn't like certain things, and the developer or the investor is a clean investor. He's not corrupt. Clean. And you know, once you're clean, you will fall out of grace with the NNP administration. So I'm asking the question, what did the NDC as a party, as a government, as a team, what did they do wrong with this settlement? Because reasonable people want to know. So the NNP, the surrogates, they constantly attack the government on this particular project. But here it is. This project was one that was approved by the NNP administration. The NDC had nothing to do with this particular hotel project. Nothing to do with it, right? In the initial stage. Well, now, with the settlement, the smart negotiation skills of our government, we could speak about that. But the project itself was approved under the NNP administration as a citizenship by investment project. And the mere fact that it was approved as a citizenship by investment project, it means that the project will be funded, supposed to be funded from the sale of citizenship. And you know, once you buy your citizenship, you can get your passport with it, or you will get a passport with it. So you approve the project knowing that the money to get this project going and completed will come from the sale of citizenship. But during the construction phase of the project, you decided as a government, as the NNP administration, they decided as a government, the developer will not get more money from the citizenship by investment program, where people are actually buying citizenship and investing directly in that project. That is how it's done. But the government decides to hold the money and not give the investor, right? So withhold the money, not give the investor the money to develop the project, to complete the project, and the project is well advanced. So the developer decided, okay, if I cannot get the money that people are investing in this project, right, through the citizenship by investment program, if I can't get the money that they put into the project, because they're actually saying this is where I want my money to go. That's how it's done. Government is saying, at the time the NNP administration said, no, we're not giving you the money. So the developer decided, I will take this matter to the International Court for the settlement of investment dispute. So the developer said it's unfair to him because the project was approved as a citizenship by investment project, and the money to complete the project, to get the project going and complete the project, has to come from the sale of citizenship. And once you get the citizenship, you get the passport. So that's where the money, the source of the financing, will come from. But in the middle of the project, the NNP administration decided, well, no, we're not giving you more money. The money that is coming in, we're not giving you that. Get your own money. So the developer said, well, I can't get my own money now because you approved the project as a citizenship by investment project. So he took the matter to court, and there was a great certainty, a great probability that the government will lose the case. And the developer decided to sue the government for 111 million US. That's a lot of money. 111 million US. That's the kind of money we're talking about here, Yeah. So the NDC administration came into power and looked at this particular court matter and realized that we stand a greater chance of losing than winning the case, because that whole court matter was uncalled for in the first instance, right? So what they did was to engage the developer and try to settle the matter out of court, because just the legal fee alone, remember, Grenlec, WRB/Grenlec versus government under the NNP administration in the same court where the NNP administration lost the case, and the legal fee alone, just for the lawyers, was almost 15 million US. And this particular matter would have attracted either equally the amount or more. So our government prudently settled the matter for 22 million US. But here it is. When the NNP administration approved this project, this particular project, they gave the developers title to the land. The land was freehold or leasehold. The land was leasehold. Lease. It was leased to the owners of Flamboyant Hotel. So the government leased it to them. But when the NNP gave this project approval for this developer or developers, they gave freehold title to the land to the developers. And the matter before that was before the court never included the land, because the land belonged to the developers. The NNP administration gave them the land, title to the land, so they own the land. That was not the matter before the court. Only the hotel was the matter before the court. The project itself, not the land, because the land was owned by the developers because the NNP administration so dotishly, for want of a better word, they so dumb. They gave the developer or developers the land, give the developer title for the land, so the land belonged to the developer. In the settlement that the government negotiated with the developer, he decided to include in the whole thing the land, because the government demanded that the land be included in the settlement. And that's a win for Grenada. We got back the land. So we are the landlords for this particular piece of property. Right? But we are not hearing those NNP pundits and surrogates talk about this because they would be put to shame. Put to shame. Uncle Gary had sense enough not to give title to anybody for the lands on Grandans Beach. Instead, he leased the lands to them so they could build a nice hotel, but the land remained in the hands of the government and people of Grenada. And we are collecting a rent every year from that lease agreement. So I am saying, folks, we won in a big way. We got back the land and we have the property. We have, though the property is unfinished, but we can now engage another developer or developers, right? And sell that property to them for more than the $22 million. Yep, we can actually do that and lease the land to them. So I am saying we need to be real as Grenadians. You have a government who cares about Grenada, who cares about the Grenadian people. And they are not just talking the talk, but they are walking the walk. Let us look at the other property on Grandans Beach, Radisson, where Radisson Hotel sits. You know Radisson Hotel? It's about 20 acres of land there. That land was leased to the owners of Radisson Hotel. The NNP administration, right, took that land and gave it to an individual out in the UK, his company in the UK. Well, his company, right? The company that represents him. And they claim that he will market Grenada, promote Grenada and so on. Well, from my end, all I saw was his dog with a scarf with a Grenadian flag on it in the neck. That's all I saw. But that individual company got the land, right? And the hotel, he did not get the hotel because the owners of the hotel, for whatever reason, did not go through with any sale or so of the hotel. But the government at the time, the NNP administration, gave the individual or company representing the individual title to the land. The land was leased, So the land was belonging to that company representing that individual. But here it is. Every year, the hotel had to pay about $250,000, right? EC, to the government of Grenada. What happened if you give title to the individual company? Then the individual company were actually collecting the rent every year instead of the government collecting that money. That is what took place there. So the NDC was able to acquire the property and come up with some formula. The NDC administration came up with some formula to pay the individual. I think it's about what? 5 million US. But I am talking about a situation where the individual really and truly did not pay, right? That kind of money for that property, or the company did not pay that kind of money. They gave the individual the property, or his company, the company representing him, to market Grenada and so on. But the question is, did we get value for that prime property? But I'm saying all of this to say to you, this is how backward the NNP was in power. Government was collecting $250,000 every year from that hotel because the land was leased to the hotel. You then decided to give an individual, or the company representing the individual, and we know who the individual is, the property to market Grenada, as you say. Did we get value for our investment? But that is how the NNP functioned for all the many years. They were never concerned about our patrimony, our lands, and so on. And I challenge those out there who backing NNP, who supporting NNP. Let us have an honest conversation on these things. Let's talk about it honestly. But you will not, because if you do, then you will make your party look bad. You're going to make them look bad, because Grenadians are not stupid. They are following keenly what is happening in the country. And we have to talk about it. Huh? We have to expose it. You know, this morning, I saw a post from the Honorable Andy Williams where he said there was some funding, grant funding, for the restoration of the trail in Grande Tang, right? The bridges and the wooden bridges and so on, the ropes and, everything like that in Grande Tang. Because, people go and they walk that trail from time to time. And he's saying that since 6 years ago is what? So since 2017, yes, 2017, 2018, somewhere around there. Since 2017, 2018, the World Bank approved this particular project, the funding for this particular project, to build the bridges, to fix the trail, and make sure everything is okay. Hear this. The NNP refused to execute the project, to implement the project, just like the many other projects that they did not implement. And that is why they have a problem with Andy, because Andy's implementing those projects. So the World Bank, after a while, will pull the money back. Because if you're not using it, then they're going to pull it back. Something as simple as that, to create some much needed jobs for the people to just do what they have to do in Grande Tang. Because the trail is not too difficult, right? It's amazing. But that's how the NNP functioned for all the many years. And some people do not want to face it, The reason why the NNP is jealous of the NDC administration is because the NDC administration is getting the job done. They're fixing the thing. They're getting the job done. That is why they're angry. And that is why they're so jealous. Because the NDC is able to get the thing done. They're not just talking, they're doing it. And that's the problem. They don't want to tell you that. So they became very jealous over the many years. Jealous. Over the many months, sorry. Because they realize that the NDC is getting the job done. And we have to sit soberly and look at what transpired in the past. Last night I spoke about pensioners, unless we forget where we came from. And two pensioners messaged me, said, yes, Kim, we ought not to forget the struggles, what they had to do to get that pension and that gratuity. Because the NDC came into power, and the NDC is a pro-worker government, they decided to pay the pension and pay the gratuity, cost it what it may, and also gave back public officers the docked salaries that the NNP took from they had earned a paycheck. So we cannot forget that. And that is why I was a bit not angry, but a bit pissed, right? With the approach Brian Grimes is taking with the workers at Mongi. It's a number of them, but they're actually in the field workers, and they're doing an excellent job, a magnificent job. And I agree, they deserve what they're demanding. Cell phone, traveling allowance, and that kind of stuff. They deserve that. They deserve it. Trust me. They work very hard. But you have a pro-worker government. Why not engage the government at all levels, not just the PS? Because I know fully well about the PS. Don't fool yourself. Politically, I know where she stands. So I know. But you have a pro-worker government. Engage the ministers, engage the government further, and you will get results. But instead, you go to the media after you reached out to the PS or so, and then you use words to the effect that they have a mild industrial action, mild protest action, wearing their jerseys, and then if there's a need to escalate, well, what's to that effect? We're going to escalate. You don't do these things because you have a friendly government, a pro-worker government in power. So your job is way easier than when the NNP was in power. Because when the NNP was in power, you couldn't get nothing. You couldn't get fringe benefits. You couldn't get pension and gratuity. You could not have gotten anything, period. Even the little increase that you got, if it was under NNP, you had to protest in the streets. You had to beat drums and blow bubuzelas and so on in the streets, begging government to honor this and honor that. So I am saying sometimes it's not what you do, but how you do what you do and when you do what you do. That's important because it will determine the outcome of this particular issue or that which you seek to be remedied. It will determine the outcome of that. So you have to understand you're dealing with a friendly government and your approach has to be different. We are human beings. It has to be different. So I challenge Brian Grimes to reflect on what I just said and try to do things differently in going forward. That's the best way. You're dealing with a friendly government. There is no need for all this media circus and hype and all this stupidness. Right? Work with the government to help your workers. That is what must happen if you ask me. All right? But a lot of these people have hidden agendas. They have hidden agendas. So I am not surprised with what we are seeing. Let's look a little at the minimum wage. for a moment.
A second round of consultations will begin in the coming weeks as government moves toward implementing a baseline salary scale for employees in 2024. That decision was made following the submission of a report from the Wages Advisory Committee in August after the first round of consultations aimed at revising the minimum wage in Grenada. Legal Affairs Minister Senator the Honorable Claudette Joseph, during a press conference earlier this week, said government will first meet with stakeholders to get buy-in to the move to standardize daily salary scales. She said the committee has recommended a $60 a day earning.
We also are going to be introducing in Grenada for the first time the concept of a baseline minimum wage, which would capture persons and categories of workers not specifically mentioned in the order. And that is the subject of the second round of consultations now ongoing. The recommendation of the committee is $60 per day wage across the board, so that in any given sector, the minimum wage should not be less than $60 a day.
Minister Joseph highlighted some of the recommendations from the first round of consultations, which include the revision of laws, inclusion, and equality.
Equalizing, a recommendation to equalize the minimum wage across gender. As most of us will know, we have a disparity right now between male and female workers in certain sectors, particularly the agriculture sector. And that the recommendation should be a thing of the past as we move towards greater equality among our workers across gender. The other change would be inclusion in the categories of workers covered by the minimum wages order of certain sectors not previously included. And these include the call centers, people in the call center sector, certain workers in the construction sector that were left out previously, laborers and helpers, and also media workers.
Right, so that's good. And remember, it's minimum wage. Huh? It's not to say that you cannot get more. It is minimum wage. The minimum means they cannot pay you under what is stated, but they can pay you more. That's important. Minimum wage. So, folks, I want to thank you for being a part of the program this morning. I want to wish you all the best. I want to say to you, Grenada belongs to all of us, and we must work harder and smarter to make it better. Those who are going to the special Parliament or ceremonial state opening of Parliament today, I wish you all the best also. Take good care. I'll be back tonight, starting from 8 in the p.m. in the hub. God's willing tonight, starting from 8 in